Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Good. Appreciate you guys coming. As always, appreciate your coverage. I want to just go ahead and start, guys, just make a couple statements and we'll open up for questions. One, I'd just like to, send a message to the fans that we understand your frustration. We're just as frustrated. It's not the start that we wanted. It's not where we wanted to be. We're going to work really hard to continue to improve and build the program just like that, the way we did when we started. But we do value our fans' support as we do continue to improve and build our program. We are where we are right now today, but it's not where we will be as we continue to go and develop a lot of the young players that we have in our program. We are a young team. We have very few seniors, one of the smallest senior classes probably in the country, and a lot of these young players are continuing to improve as we go, and they will continue to improve as we continue to go. When I look at Saturday's game, really the last 2 weeks, for us to improve and change the results on Saturday, we have to stop beating ourselves. We've had too many mental errors. We've had too many penalties. We've been careless with the football, as it was the case in the Kansas game. You can't do those things and win games, and we have to clean those things up. I, as the head coach, have to get that stuff fixed. We have to get more mental toughness out of our players in this program. Mental toughness to do our job consistently in a game, regardless of the opponent, the location, the score. And Saturday we had some uncharacteristic mistakes from some players that have played really good football around here in the past. In my opinion, us as coaches, we need to coach things better, and us as players, we need to play things better, on Saturday. One of the things that we've discussed as a team, I really want a big, strong, physical football team at the line of scrimmage, one that can run the ball, one that can stop the run, and we have not been able to do that the last couple of weeks. We need to get that done, and we need to play better at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Offensively, our pass game needs to improve. We have not had much success on third down here in the last couple weeks, and we need to get that better. And there's a lot of things that go into it. We've talked about those things in the past. Sometimes the protection is good and the route's not right. Sometimes the route's right and the protection's not good. Sometimes the protection is where it needs to be, the routes are good, and the quarterback holds on to the ball too long. All of those things have to work together for us to improve our pass game, for us to get some explosive plays down the field, and for us to be able to convert on third down better as we move forward. Defensively, I truly believe games are won up front and games are lost in the secondary. Right now we're not playing the way we need to up front on the defensive line. And in the secondary last Saturday, we made too many mistakes that cost us explosive plays that hurt us in that football game. We are going to look at what we're doing, how much we're doing, and what we're asking the players to do to make sure that we can execute the calls that are made. In my opinion, we don't have too many calls, but for whatever reason, there's been some issues that we can't have and will not have. And we'll continue to work hard to get those things cleaned up. Special teams, I think we have improved. Saturday we gave up a long punt return that obviously we weren't happy with. It hurt us in a critical situation. We have young players all over our special teams units. I think I looked Sunday looking at our punt return team. I think of the 11 starters out there, 10 of them were first or second year players. So we've got a lot of young players. They are getting better. Their technique, their fundamentals, their understanding of what we're asking them to do is getting better. We had Zaire Lacewell was a new guy, new addition to our kickoff coverage team. Finally ran down there and covered a kick the other day. He did an outstanding job. It's going to increase his opportunities. Really pleased with how that kid has developed and where he's at right now. We're hoping to find some other ways that he can maybe factor in to help our football team, but that's just one example. We talked to our team about this too. Winning will never happen if losing doesn't hurt. And right now we do have a hurt football team, and that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. But if it doesn't hurt when you lose, you'll never end up winning because you haven't committed the way you need to make it happen. Just quickly about Indiana, they're off to a good start, good football team. And we're going to have to play a lot better when they come in to our stadium here on Saturday. There have been some really competitive games between Indiana and Rutgers. Last year obviously was not one of them, but we've got to play better and, again, do some of the things that I'm talking about with not being ourselves, mental toughness, execution, to be able to have a chance to win that game. So with that, I'll go ahead and open up for questions.
Where are you at quarterback? Who's your starter?
There's no starter going to be discussed today.
Why not give Art a vote of confidence? And two,
I'm not going to discuss a quarterback today. We're evaluating what's best for our team.
If you do go with Gio, what makes you think that the offense will be any better when you ranked 125th last season? Gio.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a valid point. Exactly spot on. We've had those discussions, so we're looking at all of that. You know, what does one quarterback over another do for our offense, for not only the short term but for the long term also. So we are looking at all of that. So I don't mean to be disrespectful when I say we're not going to discuss who the start. We haven't decided yet. That's still being discussed. But you do bring up a valid point, and that's something that we're discussing as we try to figure it out.
Chris, you mentioned commitment. You mentioned mental toughness. 3 straight. I think it's a fair question. A lot of outside noise. Has this team given up on the staff?
Absolutely
Has this team
quit? No, absolutely not. If we would have quit, we wouldn't have went from giving up 376 yards, I think it was, in the first half defensively, to 69 in the second half. I watched the tape. The effort is there. We're making too many mistakes. There's not an effort issue. We're making too many mistakes. We had some very uncharacteristic mistakes made by some older players Saturday on defense that led to some explosive plays. It had nothing to do with an effort problem. It had nothing to do with a preparation problem.
But you mentioned the second half. I mean, do you feel that Buffalo was giving running its same offense, maybe attacking you the same way they were in the first half?
Absolutely. I mean, especially when we scored a touchdown and we got the interception and had a chance to potentially make it a 15-point game. Our players came out and they fought in that second half and they played. We didn't make the mistakes that we made in the first half. When I'm talking mistake, I'm talking about defensively. We played cleaner. The calls were executed. We had better fundamentals. We tackled better. We ran to the football better. The things that you need to do to have success. I watched the football game. I've got really no issues with most of the effort that we put forth out there on Saturday. And the players know that. We've discussed that. But we had, again, some mental errors on some particular calls in certain situations that killed us. Third down in the first half killed us defensively. We had a mental error on a third down, allowed them to get a first down. Next thing you know, it's a touchdown because of a missed tackle. So there's some things that we have to do better, not only on the calls that ended up being explosive plays, but maybe on the third down before it to get off the field, not even let them continue the drive.
And just talking about the quarterbacks, I know you haven't made a decision, and we'll talk about who that might be now, but how does the week go in terms of that? Do you go along as you have been? Does anything change in terms of game preparation? Does the fact that both quarterbacks have played a half in the last couple of games also mean maybe you can wait a little longer to make that decision?
Well, yeah, I think so. We do have to do a great job of making sure that both quarterbacks are prepared and getting the reps during the week of practice. That's always a challenge because the starter typically gets the majority of the reps. But we have to make sure that both are prepared. And there's a lot of things, whether we go with Art, Gio, both of them get some opportunities to play in games. Those are all on the table and all being discussed as we move forward. And as Keith mentioned, we do go back to the body of work in the past and look at, again, what is best for our football team right now and forward as we move forward.
How did Bless come out of surgery, and now that he's past surgery, can you confirm that he is out for the season?
Excuse me, yeah. Bless came out of surgery just fine. Thankfully, he got a lot of opinions from several different doctors. He did have to have his ACL reconstructed. When he twisted it up, it strained the ACL graft that he had from last year pretty good. And I guess the phrase, to phrase the doctors, it was hanging on by a shoestring, and so they had to repair it. But he's doing great. He's handling it great, and he'll work his tail off to try to get back.
You mentioned coaching Coach better players have to play better. Do you see a shift in any coaching responsibilities, and do you see any potential starting lineup changes?
No shift in coaching responsibilities. We just guys got to be more detailed in their preparation and making sure that they're holding players accountable to do the job that they need to do. When I say we got to coach better, that's really the biggest thing, is being clear, clean, and concise and direct with our coaching and our teaching, and holding the players accountable to get that done. Because if it doesn't happen on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, it's not going to happen on Saturday.
Potential starting lineup changes? Are you going through each position?
No, as we do after every Saturday, we go through and look. Sometimes injuries play a factor into different things, but as of right now, no. The quarterback is still, something that we're discussing. But no, I don't anticipate any major lineup changes with different starters.
Chris, is it troubling that you haven't been more competitive in these games? The blowout losses is one thing to lose, but you see Army, you see Old Dominion, you see App State, you see all these other teams that are pushing these top-rated teams. It's not like Kansas and Buffalo are perceived top-rated teams. Is it troubling that you haven't been more competitive?
Be honest with you, it is, but I don't compare ourselves to anybody else. I know where we're at, we do not have many older players, and I don't know what some of those other programs have, but when they play with a lot of fourth and fifth year seniors, it's a different team. It's a different field. The potential to do some of those things and be more competitive is there. We are not in that situation. We are dominated with first and second year players. If this continues, guess what it'll look like here in another year or two? We'll have a lot of 3, 4, or 5th year players in our program here soon. That's how you start to win games. That's how you build a program and turn it around. So I'm not concerned about what some other program is doing. Every situation is differently. Do I want us to be more competitive? Absolutely. Am I concerned about that? Absolutely. But I also know that where our roster's at, how the players are improving, and I get it. It looks like we're far away. We're not. We're not near as far away as people think. There may be one play here or one player here or there on a particular play that stops a drive or doesn't allow a play to be successful. There may be, on defense, 10 of the 11 guys doing things right, and it's one guy that makes a mistake, and it gives up an explosive play or a touchdown. Our job is to get all 11 on both sides of the ball doing their job as consistently as we can, as much as we can, so we do get competitive and we do make more plays and we do get more stops on defense. We're not as far away as the scores indicate in the last 2 weeks. I do strongly believe that, but we're not making the plays that we need to make these games competitive and have an opportunity to win.
Take 2 more questions.
I know you say you're not going to talk about who's starting quarterback. You mentioned Gio, you mentioned Art. Is Jonathan Lewis a consideration in any way to potentially push for the starting job? He played last year.
I'm not going to make a lot of comments about our players other than the fact that Jonathan Lewis has really been improving and continues to work really hard. Absolutely love the young man. And that's where I'll leave it. He has worked really hard. Yesterday we went out and practiced. He had a great practice. And the kid is just done an unbelievable job in this program. He's selfless. He wants to do anything he can to help our football team, and he's willing to do anything.
You started off the press conference talking about the fans. We get it more than anyone. There's a large percentage of the fan base that clearly looks like they've given up hope. Attendance is an issue. How big of an issue? I know you're not selling tickets, but how big of an issue in your mind is it for how fan apathy to the perception of your program, to recruiting, to keeping your players motivated on game day? How big of an issue is the fan apathy in your mind?
Yeah, I mean that's always a concern when you're going through a tough situation and trying to build a program and turn things around. That is part of it. Because the perception for recruiting is important. I think we do a great job of communicating our vision, our plan, and what the program we want the program to look like in the future to recruits. And that's why I think in the last couple of years we've signed some really outstanding players, and I think that's why we will in the future. We do want fan support. We do need fan support, but I get their frustration. They want to see us be more competitive. They want to see us win. We will get there, I promise you. Again, I've been through this before. Our roster is really young. If you look at the 2014 and 2015 recruiting classes, I think there were 46 players that were signed. Those guys would be your juniors and seniors. Most of them would be probably in our 4th or 5th year. Of those 46, I think we have 16 players that are still on the roster. We are depleted from an experience standpoint. And that's not an excuse. I'm not going to make any excuses for the mistakes that we have made on Saturday in the last 2 weeks. We have to coach that better, and we've got to execute better. But that's where we're at today. That's not where we will be at in the future. We do, like I mentioned, value our fan support. We need our fan support to help us get through a tough stretch here in this program for not only the current players but for future recruits also.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thank you, guys. Take care.